But there was a lot that I kind of had to process after that ceremony. And I remember going down to the river afterwards and going into the river to kind of let the water neutralize me, wash me, cleanse me. And I started to have the imposter syndrome show up because I'd been connecting to all these beautiful women with all their beautiful magic, hosting all these beautiful, powerful ceremonies. And suddenly I started to question whether my medicine was valuable enough, whether there was a space for it. Welcome to Empower and Evolve, the vortex of growth that you have been looking for. I am your host, Kat Tanniberg. I'm a mindset coach for female leaders, and I am committed to helping you cultivate the mindset shifts that generate you wild success. Each episode, we explore ways to tap into your true potential. We face the shadows that hold you back, and we embrace the journey toward your most abundant life. If you love what you learn here today, then I invite you to share this episode with someone that needs to hear it. Right, it's time to plunge in. Hello, my love. Welcome to this podcast episode on my experience at the Sacred Village Festival. I feel like I'm going to be talking a lot slower than usual because I am still landing from this incredible life-changing experience. And I'm really savoring the transformations that happened within me during this festival. And with that being said, I'm really allowing myself to move a little slower right now. I first of all want to take you back to the time when I first decided to apply at this festival. I heard about the festival through the Earth Daughters community, Brooklyn and Emma, the stewards, the creatrixes behind the Sacred Village Festival, also facilitate and guide at Earth Daughters. And I heard amazing things about their workshop. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend because our sessions were at exactly the same time last year. But I was intrigued and I started following the festival on Instagram. And there was just something about it. If you're like me, where you're very attuned to the energy around you, the energy of different people, different festivals, different businesses, etc., then you'll understand this because sometimes you can't explain it with words, but you just have this soul knowing that there is something there for you to lean into. So as I started to make my plans for which festivals to apply for, I knew I needed to apply for the Sacred Village Festival. And I had no idea whether I would get accepted because I'd never really connected to Brooklyn and Emma beforehand. But I did. I got the email in January and I was so excited. Like, I remember being like, oh my God, I got accepted to a festival in Ontario. I've never even been any further east than Calgary. And now I get to go over to Ontario to facilitate at a women's festival. How fucking cool is that? Like, that's my freaking life. I'm so stoked. And then at the same time, I straight away had these stories come in, but how am I going to make it happen? Because I'm going to be flying there and there's camping and how am I going to get all my camping gear there, etc. So like straight away, as you do when you make a decision, something that is going to change your life, straight away, like that little inner negative self-talk starts to come in and be like, no, these are all the reasons why you shouldn't do this or can't do this. But I know better. Like, I know when this voice comes in, I know that I don't need to get into it and I don't need to believe it. And instead, I straight away started to ask myself my favorite question: how can I? How can I make this work? This question, how can I, whatever you apply it to, will open you up to suddenly start to see possibilities. And starting to ask myself this question was the first moment where all the synchronicities that I got to experience at this festival started to line up and begin. So as soon as I asked myself that question, I realized like, oh my God, I think I've seen Jen, the girl who works with Zoom Garden, runs Zoom Garden, my favorite freaking mushroom company. I think she was there last year. And through the Earth Daughters Festival, I've connected with her and she's been on this podcast. And it's like, oh, I'm going to message her and ask her about it and see like how she liked it and whether she has any suggestions for me about the festival. So I started talking to her and she was like, yeah, I'm going back this year and I'm going to book an Airbnb and I'm going to have a rental car and like we can go together. And I remember being like, I think I might have even cried. I remember going over to my husband and being like, oh my God, this just happened. It's all coming together. Like I'd never spent time with Jen, but I knew that this was divine. So I said yes to the festival. I said yes to coming. And I was like, okay, this is going to be fun. Like, this is going to be an adventure. I'm going to fly over to the other side of Canada with someone who I met at another festival who I feel the soul connection to, even though we haven't really spent much time together with. And we decided to fly out together because she lives just outside of Calgary. And for me, Calgary is the closest airport. So fast forward this last Wednesday, Jen and I start our adventure over to Ontario and we took a red-eye flight. We landed early morning on Thursday. And the night before, I had seen one of the other girls that I know through the Earth Daughters community who I'd never really connected with, Kendra, post in the Sacred Village community page saying like, hey, I'm going to be arriving at the airport. Is anyone going to be driving to the festival from there that I could get a ride with? And like she hadn't responded. Like I commented underneath her question, but she hadn't responded. And she literally responded as Jen and I came out of the airport and were waiting for our rental car to arrive. She responded then, being like, yeah, hey, I'm at the airport. Like, when are you guys here? So she walks out of there. We'd never, like, the three of us had never connected before. Like, Jen and I knew each other a little bit, but Kendra, neither of us knew. And she tells us the story about how she's going to go to Egypt afterwards and how, like, she's connected to the, like, gold, etc. Like, it's a whole different story. And then we were like, well, our rental car is the color of gold. And by the way, we have a third bedroom in our Airbnb if you want to come and stay with us. So she ended up taking us up on that. And we became this trio, this, this powerful trio that held each other together. And I have only ever once experienced that level of soul connection with someone as quickly. And that was at my yoga teacher training when one of the girls that from my training we ended up connecting before the festival and ended up traveling India together. Never met before. But this time it was similar. Like it literally felt like our souls had all known each other. Like we knew and could see each other in ways that you can't describe. And we were all so different, and yet it worked. Like it was just pure freaking magic. And it's not often that I get to spend time with women like this, like beautiful, powerful women who have incredible gifts and who have successful businesses where they share those gifts and they've done amazing things in the world. And how when we all get each other and at the same time we can make fun of each other and the fact of like our spirituality and things. So it was magical. Like the three of us became inseparable. Is that even a word? I don't know. So that was like the pre-experience of the festival. And then on the first night, it was a very kind of slow start on Thursday night. There was just a kirtan song circle and a fireside kind of hangout that evening. And they were chanting all these beautiful mantras that I remember from my yoga days. And one of them is the Hanuman mantra. And it just reminded me of the story of Hanuman, which I'm not going to get into too much, but essentially, and he was made to forget about them because they could have destroyed him when he wasn't conscious enough. And then when he grew into his consciousness, he suddenly remembered. And that just reminded me of the power that we carry as women and how so many of us have forgotten our own power, our own medicine, our own uniqueness, and how sometimes we just need someone else to shine a light so that we can remember. And I was like, I am that person. I am that person for women. I like shine the lights and remind them of their power. So that was one of the first really profound moments for me personally at the festival. And then comes Friday, and I had this whole plan of what I wanted to attend, all the different sessions I wanted to attend. And after the opening ceremony, which was beyond powerful, like you could just see that the community that Brooklyn and Emma attract is beyond words. There's so much integrity, there is so much embodied leadership where it's not just talking the talk, but it's really walking the walk. And they had all these different people come in and share in the opening ceremony, and the reverence that they carry for elders and getting elders to share their wisdom and their magic. I just remember like crying on the opening ceremony and just knowing deep in my body that I was meant to be there. And after the opening ceremony, I just had this. I just connected to my body. I was going to go straight into a session from there, but I connected to my body. And this is something I've really learned to do and something I really recommend anyone to do when they go to festivals. Instead of like rigidly holding onto the schedule that you thought you were going to attend, can you tune into your body, your intuition? Can you connect to your pussy and allow your body, your pussy, your intuition to guide you to the places where you need to be at the festival? And for me, when I checked in with my body and my pussy, it was a very loud scream, almost being like, no, no sessions. You're just going to spend time on your own. You're going to walk the lands. You're going to familiarize yourself with the land. Go and sit by yourself. Do some journaling and allow yourself to actually fully land. So I spent most of Friday just walking the land, sitting by the river, exploring the grounds, eating yummy food, connecting to the beautiful women who were attending the festival. And I only made it to one other session that day, a journey with the Blue Lotus, which I attended a Blue Lotus ceremony last year at Earth Daughters, which I really loved. And the Blue Lotus medicine is connected to Egypt, and I have a deep soul connection to Egypt and Isis. So I knew I kind of wanted to go there, and it was really beautiful. It was a qigong practice with a little bit of a plant journey at the end, and it was exactly right. It was all I needed that day. We ended up going home pretty early that evening because we were all still tired from our red-eye flights and not fully kind of settled, and we knew that Saturday was going to be a big day. So we ended up going home and we were just chatting, the three of us, and it was really, really beautiful. And just connecting on a deeper level and understanding each other's medicine and what we really do and the work that we carry and our unique strengths. And it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I just remember feeling so much gratitude to have been able to connect with these women and spending time together with them. And then comes Saturday, and Saturday broke me open. I've done a lot of work, a lot of shadow work, a lot of subconscious work, a lot of mindset work, a lot of energetics work. Like I walk my walk. And I also know that it's never like we just arrive at the top of the mountain, suddenly become enlightened. Our journey is going to have its ups and downs. And the good news is that the further along on our journey we are, the easier it will be to navigate the lows. I have had my experience with the imposter syndrome. And on Saturday morning, I attended the Wild Edge ceremony hosted by Brooklyn and Emma, which is a grief ceremony. And when they were doing their pre-talk, I was just crying. And at the same time, everything they shared, I was like, these women, they're so full of integrity and truth. And they get me because sometimes I find that with spiritual work, we start to be afraid of actually meeting our edges and allowing ourselves to embrace our darkness and our shadows. But these women were talking about the importance of meeting ourselves in our triggers, meeting ourselves in our darkness, meeting ourselves in our pain, in our grief, in our rage, and recognizing that in order for us to hold the full spectrum of joy, we also need to learn to hold the full spectrum of grief and pain. And how they also then shared how just to let people have their own experience, and it's not about interfering or going and trying to save them or hug them or getting them out of their experience, but just trusting that everyone is going on their own journey and everyone has the ability to ask for help should they need it, but that sometimes we need to be in that full process of peeling back the layers. And this is something I see in a lot of spiritual practices where if we go into a big ceremony, if we go into big breath work, if we go into this deep shadow work, if someone has a big experience, like you can physically see that they're crying, they're screaming, they are processing a lot. Often I've seen facilitators run to these people and like trying to get them out of them and kind of like getting them out of their emotions quickly. Versus I personally believe that sometimes we need to be in that shit. We need to be in the mud because it holds the medicine for us to rise above it. So hearing that being reflected back from these women, I was like, these are my people. I'm exactly where I need to be. Another thing that they shared that I really loved is that we are the captain of our own ship and recognizing how resourced we feel that day. And if we're not feeling super resourced, to maybe not push ourselves to the deepest parts of our psyche and instead just allow ourselves to meet us where we're at with the resources that we currently have. And if that just means that you have a little cry and you just really feel those couple of tears moving out of your eyes and down your cheek, and you're just really present with that feeling, then that is perfect. So I really, really loved those reflections, and the ceremony itself was really powerful. I ended up stopping to cry when we were in the ceremony, but like I was crying all the way basically through the pre-talk for different reasons. But then during the ceremony, I was actually just very calm and very rooted and very grounded, which felt really nice. But there was a lot that I kind of had to process after that ceremony. And I remember going down to the river afterwards and going into the river to kind of let the water neutralize me, wash me, cleanse me. And I started to have the imposter syndrome show up. Because I'd been connecting to all these beautiful women with all their beautiful magic, hosting all these beautiful, powerful ceremonies. And suddenly I started to question whether my medicine was valuable enough, whether there was a space for it, and whether I even belonged here. And it was actually pretty dark. I was in quite the darkness in that moment. And then I ended up being led to this beautiful talk by Audra, and it was on embodied leadership. And that session was exactly what I needed without even realizing that I needed it. First of all, her session was very much a talk where she was talking and opening ourselves up to, around the mindset and teaching us. And it was so powerful. She spoke about the importance of true leadership needing to be equal parts humility and boldness. and how we've had too much boldness pushing forward, and how the humility actually needs to come in, and it needs to be the balance. So I just remember having all these realizations during that session as well. She had this beautiful, beautiful metaphor around leadership, being that as a leader, you are the lighthouse, but everyone's the captain of their own ship. You're not the one steering the ships. You're just the lighthouse. And how also, as the lighthouse, it's not about you being the amazing one who shines the light and makes them, find their path. It's not about you. Those ships, those captains, they don't care about you and your light. All they care about is you shining the light for their path so that they can find their way to where they need to go. Boom. I was like, yes, that's true leadership. And that's actually what I do. And there was all these different synchronicities around what Audra was sharing and the connection between us, similar paths of work and similar paths of teachings that we have and backgrounds. And I just knew. And I was like, I went up to Audra at the end and I just cried. And I was like, thank you. Like, I really needed this. And we had this really beautiful talk around leadership, which is a whole other podcast episode. The other thing that happened was that Audra guided us through a really beautiful meditation where we met our true leader, and our leader gifted us something. And in that meditation, I just had this super strong visual that my leader gifted me a foxtail, which I had seen one of the beautiful women, an indigenous elder, sell at the marketplace. So I knew after that session that I had to go and buy myself that foxtail, and how it carried a lot of medicine for me. So if you're watching me on YouTube, this is the beautiful foxtail that I purchased. And I told Maya, the indigenous elder, about the vision and how it led me there. And she told me to look up fox medicine. So I went to my trusted friend ChatGPT to ask the story between the fox and leadership and what the medicine is. And I'll read you this one that just fully landed for me, because that is exactly what I'd been telling the girls what my work was. Walking between worlds. The fox is a liminal creature, often seen at dawn or dusk, times between times. This represents the ability to move between the seen and unseen, holding space for both structure and mystery, bridging logic and intuition, business and soul, masculine and feminine. Fox leaders are shapeshifters, comfortable holding dualities and guiding others through transformation. And I read that and I was like, that is me. Like, I walk between worlds, the spiritual and the normal world, the structure and the magic, business and soul, logic and intuitions. Like, all these things just started to land. And I was like, my medicine is so needed. And I just didn't have the words. I was just so full of gratitude with these synchronicities. Later that night, we had the ecstatic dance party, and I've never seen an ecstatic dance like this before. I was literally at one point just standing in the corner and just witnessing. And I started to cry, because I literally said, I don't think I've ever seen anything more beautiful. All these women are so in their power, so in their true essence, and they're just having their times of their lives. And they are allowing themselves to be fully witnessed in their magic. And I just held this moment of gratitude to be able to witness it, to be able to be part of this. And for that remembrance of women coming back to their true selves. Fast forward to Sunday. I hosted my hypnosis session on Sunday. And before I hosted my session, I went down to the river and I just allowed myself to really land. I allowed to connect to Creator and draw on letting Creator work through me and co-facilitating this experience for the women who attended. I had about 40 women join for my hypnosis session. It was magical. I got clapping at the end, which was like, wow. And so much beautiful feedback from the women afterwards. And when I was guiding my session, after I got over my initial little like fear and like a wobbly voice, I remembered my power. And I remembered that I am so fucking good at what I do. And I was reminded of the potency of my work, my magic. And I just felt like I was exactly where I needed to be. So I also reclaimed my power and my belonging and my place. And afterwards, I had this really beautiful experience where I went up to Maya again, the indigenous leader, and she'd been selling drums, and I made my drum. You can see it there in the background at Earth Daughters last year, but the drumstick that we made was kind of meh. So I saw that Maya had these beautiful drumsticks, and I asked her whether she would be willing to sell me a drumstick. And she said, unfortunately, she has sold out all of her drumsticks, but that maybe there is something that she can do. So she like ran off, went away, and she comes back. She gives me this drumstick, which is her personal drumstick. And she just gifted it to me. She just gifted it to me, and I burst into tears because this felt like such a sacred gift from this beautiful indigenous leader to be gifted her drumstick. And the words she also said to me about standing in my power and sharing my medicine. And wow, simply wow. This festival was out of this world. It was my second ever women's festival. I'd only ever attended Earth Daughters before, and Earth Daughters has a special place in my heart and always will. But I can see now how all of these different festivals hold their own potent magic. And there is something so powerful about the Sacred Village Festival and the way that Brooklyn and Emma hold space and the guides and facilitators that they attract into their world. And I just felt immense gratitude to have been able to be a part of it. So if you're listening to this and you're like, wow, that sounds amazing, I highly recommend you give them a follow on Instagram. I'll have their Instagram profile linked below in the show notes. I hope to be back next year if they have me again. I'm really looking forward to it. And I really hope that you come and join me at it. I also had a really amazing holistic facial. So good. That's all. There's so much more that I could share, but these are kind of the most pivotal moments that I faced. There was way more synchronicity and manifestation. I mean, there was these beautiful products that were able to be won by the raffle, and they smelled divine. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna like put all of my raffle tickets in there and I'm gonna like win this bundle. And I freaking did. I won those products. I walked away with them. It was magical. I also, it was meant to rain on Sunday, and I kept like saying, like, the rain is gonna come after my session. The rain is gonna come after my session. I'm gonna be dry for the hypnosis session. And literally the moment I finished my hypnosis session, it started to rain lightly. Like I'm a freaking witch. I'm a witch. I'm a master manifester. I create my own reality. And me doing this is proof that you can do it too. Next weekend, I get to attend the Earth Daughters Festival. So maybe the next podcast episode, I will share on my experience there. Because I know that the festival has grown a lot. There will be 700 women this year. Some powerful performances. There's a lot of sessions. And I feel like that festival is again going to change me. And I'm excited to share what I'm going to unravel there. Thank you for listening. And make sure to share this with anyone who you believe can benefit from it. I love you, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me on the Empower and Evolve podcast. I hope that today's episode has sparked a new insight, or perhaps reminded you of your own power to manifest change. If you found value in our time together, I invite you to subscribe and share this podcast with someone who might need a little reminder of their own magical power. It would mean the world to me if you could take just 2 minutes to review the podcast and help it reach more people. And remember, the journey of transformation is ongoing, and sometimes the most powerful step that we can take is to simply pause, breathe, and realign with our deepest intention. Until next time.